Hello, welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. We are currently looking at the interior life of Teresa of Jesus as seen by Edith Stein. And this is taken from an article entitled Love for Love, The Life and Works of St. Teresa of Jesus. Today, we are going to look at the different trials that Teresa had to endure in order to reach the summit of the spiritual life. And so far, we started at the beginning and looked at vocal prayer, meditation, then the prayer of quiet, also known as the prayer of simplicity, and finally, the prayer of union. Then we looked at the effects that the prayer of union had on the soul. So today we will finish the article by examining some of the trials that Teresa had to go through while she was receiving these wonderful favors from God. So after Teresa's return to the family home in Avila, that is, after she experienced the cure in Besidas, that was a failure. The state of the patient, or Teresa, got so much worse that there seemed no further hope for her life. Teresa was unconscious for 4 days. The news of her death spread throughout the city. Her grave was dug at the Monastery of the Incarnation. The Carmelites of Avila sang a requiem for her. Only her father and her siblings continued to besiege heaven, and finally, to the surprise of everyone, Teresa opened her eyes. At the moment of awakening, Teresa spoke some words that implied that she had seen some great things during her apparent death. During her last days, she admitted that God, at that time, had shown her heaven and hell. Besides her later work in the order and the saintly deaths of her father and her friend Juana Suarez, as well as her own. As soon as a slight improvement began, Teresa moved back to the monastery at her urgent request. But she was confined to bed for several more years and seemed to be crippled forever and suffered unutterable pain. She herself describes the state of her soul during this time of trial. I bore these sufferings with great composure. In fact, I bore them with joy, except at first when the pain was too severe. What followed seemed to hurt less. I was completely surrendered to the will of God. Even if He intended to burden me like this forever, it appeared to me that all I wanted was to get healthy so as to withdraw into solitude, as my book prescribed. This was difficult, very difficult in the sick room. The other sisters wondered at my God-given patience. Without God, I truly could not have borne so much pain with so much joy. Now I understood how prayer is really a blessing. In the first place, it showed me what God's true love was. Next, I felt new virtues developing in me that were still very weak. I never said anything bad about others. Instead, I excused those who were targets of negative gossip. For I reminded myself that I did not want to say, nor even like to hear, anything that I would not have liked to hear said about myself. I remained true to this resolution. Sometimes, but not often, I failed to keep it. I advised the other sisters and people who visited me to do likewise. They assumed these practices. It was soon noticed, it was said, that those absent had nothing to fear from me, or from my parents, or from my friends. This is taken from the Life, chapter 6. Teresa suffered for 3 years without asking God for recovery. We do not know why she now changed her mind. She only tells us that she decided to beseech heaven to end her suffering. With this intention, she asks that a Mass be offered and turned towards the saint in whom she had always had unlimited trust, and who owes to her zeal the increased veneration shown him. I do not know how to think about the Queen of Angels, about all her pain, all her cares with the little child Jesus, without thanking Saint Joseph for the dedication with which he came to the help of both of them. She ascribed her healing to Saint Joseph. She said the following: "Soon Saint Joseph came to my rescue in very obvious ways. This most beloved Father and Lord of my soul quickly freed me of the weakness and suffering to which my body was consigned. I don't recall that he ever denied me anything I asked of him. Saint Joseph permitted his power and his goodness to me to become evident. Through him, I regained my strength. I stood up, I walked, and I was free of the paralysis." This is taken from her Life, chapter 6. Amen. We have reached the end of our study, our brief study of the interior life of Teresa of Jesus. Amen.